Okay, so are you ready to dive into something super cool today?
Always. What do we have?
This is going to be kind of different. We're
Yeah.
going deep on Zompopos de Mayo. Ever heard of him?
Oh, yeah. Fascinating stuff.
I got to admit, I hadn't really until I started prepping for this. And wow, there's so much to it.
Definitely more than meets the eye.
Right. First you hear ants and you think, okay, bugs, whatever. But these guys are, well, they're a whole cultural phenomenon. We're
Absolutely.
talking millions of them taken to the sky. They're connected to ancient traditions. They're even farmers.
Farmers, that's right. They've got this whole agricultural system going on. It's incredible.
It's mind-blowing. But let's back up for a sec for those just tuning in. What exactly are Zompopos de Mayo? I mean, where do we even start with these guys?
Well, they're these leafcutter ants, big ones. Scientific name is Atta laevigata.
Okay, Atta laevigata.
Got it. And they're found in Central America. And the name, Zompopos de Mayo, it actually translates to May ant.
May ant. Okay, makes sense, I guess.
It's all because they make their grand entrance, so to speak, during the early rainy season, usually around May and June.
Oh, so there's a sign that the rains are coming.
That's right. A very dramatic sign, too.
Yeah.
We're talking about this incredible event called the nuptial flight.
Nuptial fly. That sounds intense. What's happening there?
Well, the first rains hit, right? The ground softens up, and boom, millions of these ants, winged males and queens, emerge from their underground colonies, all synchronized perfectly.
Millions. Seriously, millions.
Oh, yeah. It's this massive cloud of ants filling the sky. It's a spectacle for sure.
Wow. So what are they doing up there? What's the purpose of this whole flying ant extravaganza?
It's all about mating. The males and queens are up there while they're mating.
So it's like a giant ant party in the sky.
I guess you could say that.
And then what? What happens after the party's over?
Well, sadly, the males die off after mating. But the fertilized queens, they have a very important job to do. They land, they shed their wings, and they start digging, burrowing into that nice soft earth, ready to start a whole new colony.
So each of those queens, they have the potential to start a whole new ant city.
Exactly. And those colonies, they can become enormous. Think millions of ants with tunnels and chambers extending deep underground.
That's insane. I mean, it's
Yeah.
pretty impressive, actually. From one little ant to a whole underground empire.
They're quite the architects, those ants.
They really are. Okay, but now let's talk about the farming thing, because that's what really blew my mind when I first heard about it.
Hmm.
How do ants farm? I mean, are they out there with tiny little hoes and rakes?
Well, not quite like that. It's more like imagine a garden that's completely underground.
Okay, an underground garden. I'm listening.
They don't eat the leaves they cut and carry back to their nests, you see.
No. What do they do with them then?
They use those leaves to cultivate a specific type of fungus.
So they're like fungus farmers.
Exactly. This fungus grows inside their colonies, and it's their primary food source.
Wow. So these ants have figured out agriculture way before humans even came along.
Pretty amazing, isn't it? They create the perfect environment for this fungus to thrive in. They fertilize it, they prune it. They even use antibiotics to protect it from other harmful microbes.
Wait, antibiotics. Ants know about antibiotics.
They produce them naturally.
Mm, yeah.
It's all part of this intricate system they've developed over millions of years. Makes you realize how much we still have to learn from the natural world.
Totally. Okay, so these fungus farming ants, they're building these massive underground cities. They've got their own agricultural system going on. What kind of impact does all of this have on the environment around them?
It's a mixed bag, really. On the one hand, they're actually really good for the soil. All that leaf cutting and fungus growing, it leads to nutrient recycling and soil aeration.
So they're like little ecosystem engineers.
You could say that they play a vital role in maintaining healthy forests and ecosystems.
That's pretty cool.
But of course, there's a flip side to everything.
Uh-oh. What's the downside?
Well, they can become pests. If their foraging happens to target crops or valuable plants that humans are cultivating, then obviously it creates conflict.
Ah, so they're not always these perfect little ecosystem helpers. Sometimes they can be a bit of a nuisance, huh?
Exactly. It's a delicate balance.
A delicate balance. We've heard that phrase a few times already. And it seems to be a recurring theme with these ants.
Definitely.
Okay, so we've talked about their impact on the environment, but you mentioned earlier that humans actually eat these ants.
Yeah. In some parts of Central America, Zompopos de Mayo, particularly the queens, are considered a delicacy. They're roasted or fried, and people say they have this nutty, earthy flavor.
Really, ants. I mean, I'm all for trying new things, but I don't know about that.
I know, it sounds a little strange, right?
Yeah.
But it's a tradition that goes back centuries.
So there's a cultural significance to it.
Absolutely. Eating Zompopos is a way for people to connect with their ancestral heritage. It's a tradition passed down through generations. And it's not just about the taste. These ants are actually quite nutritious. They're a great source of protein.
So they're like little crunchy protein snacks.
Exactly.
I guess it's all about perspective, right? What we might see as a creepy crawly, someone else sees as a tasty treat.
And a connection to their history and culture.
That's true. So these ants are a food source, they play a role in the ecosystem, they're even part of cultural traditions.
They really are fascinating creatures.
They are. But I have to imagine that this close relationship between humans and Zompopos, it can't always be smooth sailing, right?
Yeah.
There must be conflicts.
You're right. Their leaf-cutting activities, as beneficial as they can be for the soil, can also cause problems for farmers and gardeners, especially when they target crops or ornamental plants.
Right, because from the ants' perspective, they're just doing what they do. They need those leaves to feed their fungus.
Exactly. They're not trying to cause trouble, they're just trying to survive. But it creates this, well, this conflict of interest between humans and ants.
And how do we deal with that?
Well, that's the challenge, isn't it? Finding ways to manage their populations, to balance their ecological importance with human needs. It's about finding that delicate balance we talked about earlier.
Finding that sweet spot where both humans and Zompopos can thrive.
Exactly.
So it seems like these tiny little creatures, they're really giving us a lot to think about. They've got these complex lives, a rich history, and a surprising impact on both humans and the environment.
It's amazing what you can learn when you take a closer look at something you might otherwise overlook.
Totally. And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Could studying the Zompopos' agricultural practices, their efficiency, their sustainability, could that inspire us to find better solutions for our own food production?
Now, there's a thought. We've been talking about how they're connected to ancient traditions, but maybe they also hold the key to our future.
It's definitely something to ponder. So, to everyone listening, we urge you to keep exploring, keep asking questions, keep that curiosity alive.
Yeah.
Because you never know what amazing discoveries are out there waiting to be made.
Exactly, even in the smallest of creatures.
Like the Zompopos de Mayo.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time.